Florida State is a troublemaker now. They are, no, I'm kidding, but they are making it very much clear that they are not going to just stand by and watch whatever is else around them bringing in tons and tons of money. Now, you can look at this as, wait a minute, if you call Texas and OU spoiled, then what is FSU? Trying to get more money, trying to think that they're more valuable than what everyone's getting or what they are getting, and that's fine too. And we've seen this, and then it kind of come off and on the burner. But Florida State, Paul Catalina, you said that there was nothing they could do, and there still might not be anything they can do, but they're going to sure as hell try.
I said, I don't know if there's anything they can do. They're going to disrupt, and this is the first wave of that disruption. I watched an interview with Ira Schofel from War Chant and the FSU Board of Trustees president. That quote you just saw from President Richard McCullough from Brett McMurphy is from a Board of Trustees meeting that's going on right now. Former quarterback Drew Rutherford is on that board. He is basically saying that they're going to have to leave because of the situation eventually. How they can do that, look, that is up to their lawyers, and they're going to need partners. They're going to need other people to shake it up, because if they don't have it, if they're out there alone, sticking their neck out, then they're going to wind up probably losing in the long run financially so much that even when they do move, if they do, it's going to take them a while to get out of that hole. But the party line from Florida State, and feel free to debate this with other numbers if you have them, but these are the numbers that they are operating on. They have the 12th best viewership of any team in the country, averaging 3.2 million viewers last year per game that was on television. That's pretty damn good. They spend as much athletically before TV money is distributed. They spend as much as most every team in the country, and if they were in the Big Ten and SEC, they would be fourth in how much money they spend on athletics. Before TV money even comes into it, they have a huge athletic budget. So their stance here is that how can Florida State University keep pace with the Big Ten and SEC when they've been trying to and spending like they are if those teams are about to double the money?
All right, who signed the contract?
They did. And
now,
that's what.
And I know I'm not legally very smart, but they signed the contract, so did Clemson and NC State and everybody else. Now, here's another thing. They might be 12th when it comes to viewership, but there are other schools that in other conferences that wouldn't even be anywhere near Florida State, but they're a part of the right conference at the right time. So there is a little bit of whinage here.
Oh, yeah.
And by the way, a squeaky wheel gets the attention. I don't blame them for at least saying how they feel. Whether they could actually get anything done remains to be seen. From Joyner Perez, and a lot of you already on this, and we thought we'd start with this and we'll get to other things because there's nothing like right now other than what may happen with the Pac-12 and who might be leaving, if anyone at all. FSU complaining about remaining competitive with the current payout while less than half of the FBS conferences sniff their money is laughable. So in other words, Florida State's still making more money than a lot of others in the FBS. Who is below them that is more valuable than them? Who's making less money than FSU in the ACC, but is more valuable than they are from any of the other conferences? You got to eliminate the SEC and Big Ten because they're all making more money.
Yeah. Well, I mean, right now, because I don't know how the Big 12 and ACC's deal is going to work out, in the race when they both kick, when the new Big 12 deal kicks in, who's going to legitimately be in third? Because right now the ACC is technically in third. So yeah, there are teams below them that are not. And look, to Joyner, who said that, yeah, that's true. But what the point of them saying this is, and again, I know that I'm not probably the best person to hear this from because I'm an alum. I'm not totally in favor of them doing this. To be quite honest with you, I'm totally in favor of them.
You really aren't?
It makes me nervous.
Why?
Because I don't know if it's going to work out the way they want to.
Well, what are they going to do? End up like at an island?
I know. I'm Smokey. Am I an optimist?
No.
The world.
You are the opposite.
The world is crap, and as soon as we all realize that, it'll all be easy.
You're not an optimist. You're more of less below pessimist.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just not like. Look, I'm not going to.
They're not going to be left where there's nothing for them to do.
No,
They'll be fine.
I know, but also. I kind of look. I've been listening to Craig talk about this for 2 years now.
Yeah.
About Oklahoma, and I'm like, it's nice when you're one of the only two teams that wins all the time. So I get like it.
Are you willing to go 8-4 every year, but still be very highly a part of the conversation? As
long like the 12-team playoff makes you feel better about it.
Yeah.
As long as they are regularly competing in the 12-team playoff, I don't care if they're playing on the moon. Like, that's fine to me. But if they're in the 12-team playoff, that's fine. But to go back to the point for Joyner, look, what they're saying as an organization, FSU, is we want to stay competitive. It is important to us to be competitive in all athletics, particularly football, which is the only reason that people come to this place. Like, it's not, but, like, that's kind of their thing. The biggest deal about Tallahassee, Florida, is Doak Campbell Stadium. And we are not going to stand idly by and watch that wither if we can do anything about it, because it is such
So what's different, Paul, than what he said today, basically, than what was said maybe 6 to 10 weeks ago?
This is more direct. Like, this is... They didn't...
Or is this them because maybe people heard them and it was reported and it was discussed and we did too, but nothing's happened since then? Is this like, hey, by the way... We're still here and we're still not happy.
And this is also opportunistic timing. So they are looking at all the chaos going on and the Pac-12 falling apart, and they want to make sure that they can ride this wave of chaos into getting attention on their cause. However, it's in the eye of the beholder how legitimate you think that their claims are, but bottom line is they want to be on par. And I'll just tell you, they only have to look across to the one school they hate the most and know that they're going to be making more money than them in Florida.
Yep.
They don't want to make half the money that Florida's making.
And heck, is it going to be much different than UCF?
Yeah, like that's the other thing is now UCF is going to be making about the same or more down the line year in and year out than Florida State.
Okay, Paul sounds like he went to Florida State. He did. From Cornelio, that's solely FSU's choice to spend the money they do. No one is telling them to do so. Gary Wilson, can't help but think that the only way to get out of the ACC is to dissolve the ACC. Now, if you put together enough of a coalition, whether you're talking about alphas or those in the mid section of the ACC or even a couple at the bottom, will a coalition make a difference? It's still... Side. Okay, so what would ESPN want to do here?
See, that's the factor that...
You can be mad at the ACC.
Yeah.
You can be upset you're not making enough money. You're going to get unequal revenue sharing based on the college football playoff money. You're going to get all that. You're getting more already than you were at this time 6 months ago. So why would ESPN help Florida State?
That is the $30 million question, is why does ESPN... How can they figure the math of what would essentially be torpedoing the ACC network, which they own, and giving FSU and whoever comes with FSU more money to go wherever they go? The Big Ten is also having to figure this out now with perhaps adding some of those Pac schools. So why would you all of a sudden just give more money when you don't have to? And how much value do they add? Now, I think the argument could be made if Florida State and whoever the coalition of the willing is that would go and challenge this, let's just say it's Clemson, Miami, and North Carolina, that if everybody's going to go to 20-team leagues, they can go to the SEC and say, would you rather not have Oklahoma versus Miami every couple of years and Texas versus Clemson and Alabama and FSU and Auburn and North Carolina and these games playing, since this is where it's going, let's go ahead and do it? Yeah, probably you can make that argument. That increases the value, but that doesn't change the contract that you signed and the fact that ESPN also right now is telling one league, we have no money for you.
Exactly right.
So they're telling the Pac-12, we have no money for you. We're not interested in this. Whatever money we have for you, clearly not going to be good enough for what you want. And then FSU is banking on the fact that they can go to ESPN and go, we're not like those wimps over there on the left coast. We're FSU. We're worth that much money. And they're like, be that as it may, you're in a contract that says you're not.
They've had 1 year, back to what is somewhat the standard of FSU football.
And
would they have done this 2 years ago if we're in the same situation?
I think they would have tried. They probably wouldn't have had as much legitimacy
It'd been like
behind
a tree
it.
falling in the forest.
Yeah, they would have probably had to go to Clemson and be like, hey, can you guys start this?
All right.
And then we'll be like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so there's that. There's the Florida State thing. We've heard from them. We've heard from some of the schools in the ACC about, we're really not getting what again, that's part of the contract. And one of the arguments, and I'll say this for Paul, and for also those of you watching today, thank you so much on 365 Sports, is the fact that everybody who signed that deal, how many years ago it was, most of them are no longer a part of where they were as far as the administrators, even coaches, ADs, et cetera, even presidents, whatever. So that's interesting. We'll get to your super chat.